My son kicked me to the curb the exact moment the Powerball numbers made him a millionaire. He looked me in the eye and said he did not need a broke mother holding him back. I packed my bags in silence. 3 days later, he walked into the bank vault to claim his prize, saw me sitting in the VIP section with the manager, and hit the floor stone cold. I am not talking about one of those dramatic, rehearsed faints you see on daytime TV soap operas. I am talking about a genuine physiological shutdown, where the legs just turn to jelly, the eyes roll back, and the body drops like a sack of cement. That is exactly what I watched happen to my son Ryan that Wednesday afternoon at 2:37 p.m. inside the private wealth lounge of the First National Bank in downtown Chicago. He had rushed in, practically sprinting, with his wife Vanessa hanging off his arm like an expensive accessory. Both of them were dressed as if they were heading to a Met Gala red carpet. He was wearing a navy blue suit that still had the price tag dangling from the cuff because he had ripped it off in such a hurry. She was wearing a screaming orange dress and heels so high she looked like she was going to topple over any second. They came in grinning, talking loud, broadcasting their plans for the $18 million from the lottery win. $18 million. The number that had transformed my son into a stranger in less than 72 hours. But they were not expecting to see me there. And they certainly were not expecting to see me sitting in a leather armchair next to the regional manager, Mr. Phillips, holding a cup of espresso and clutching my genuine designer handbag. It was a gift I bought for myself with my very first paycheck after 40 years of hustling, resting elegantly on my lap. I was wearing my beige linen suit, the one I bought specifically for this occasion. I'd applied a soft red lipstick, a shade that is not aggressive but says clearly, I exist and I deserve respect. And on my wrist, gleaming discreetly under the cool lights of the bank, was the silver watch that belonged to my late husband, Arthur. It was the only object of value I had kept all these years, but on that day, it carried a completely new meaning. Ryan saw me first. I watched the exact moment his brain processed the information. That woman sitting there, being treated like royalty, was the same mother he had thrown out of his house 3 days prior, calling her dead weight and a poverty trap. The color vanished from his face, literally. It was like someone pulled the plug and drained every drop of blood. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. And Vanessa, that viper, squeezed his arm and whispered too loudly, Ryan, what is your mother doing here? Mr. Phillips, who was sitting next to me reviewing papers, looked up with that professional smile and spoke with a firm, polite voice. Good afternoon, Mr. Ryan. Mrs. Nancy arrived earlier. We were just finalizing the procedures for her premium account. Premium. That word landed in the middle of the room like a bomb. Premium? Vanessa repeated, her shrill voice going up 2 octaves. What is he talking about, Ryan? My son could not speak. He just stared at me, and I could see in his eyes, those brown eyes he got from his father, a mixture of confusion, fear, and something that took me a few seconds to identify. Shame. It was Mr. Phillips who continued, always professional, always correct. Mrs. Nancy became a special client of the bank this week, Mr. Ryan. We are very honored to serve her. She is a woman of incredible grit. Your mother. He paused, looked at me as if asking for permission, and I just raised one eyebrow. He continued, Would Mrs. Nancy like to explain to her son, or do you prefer I tell him? The silence that fell in that room was heavy. It was one of those silences where you can hear the hum of the fluorescent lights in the ceiling, the distant rumble of the air conditioning, Vanessa's shallow breathing. I took a slow sip of my coffee. I let the bitter taste spread over my tongue. I looked at my son, this 42-year-old man I raised alone, who I fed by selling plate dinners, who I clothed with garments I sewed myself until dawn, who I put through a private university paying $850 a month for 5 years by making gourmet truffles. And I spoke with the calmest voice I could muster. You can tell him, Mr. Phillips. My son deserves to know the truth. And that was when Ryan fainted. His legs gave out. His whole body collapsed. His head hit the corner of the coffee table with a dry thud that made me close my eyes for a second. Vanessa screamed like a hysterical banshee. She dropped down. She started slapping his face, yelling, "Ryan! Ryan! Someone call an ambulance!" I did not move from the chair. I just looked at that man lying on the floor. My son, my creation, my greatest mistake, and my greatest pain. And I thought about everything that had happened in the last 3 days. I thought about the words he had spit in my face. I thought about the way he pushed me out of his life the moment the money appeared. I thought about how many nights I had spent awake, wondering where I went wrong. And I thought about the secret I had kept for 40 years, the secret that was about to change everything. If you want to understand how I ended up in that bank, how a 67-year-old mother living in a simple house in Cicero became a VIP client while her millionaire son passed out at her feet, then stay with me in this story, because what you are about to hear is not just about money. It is about dignity, betrayal, and the hardest lesson a child can learn. Mr. Phillips was already on the phone calling the bank's medical team. Vanessa kept screaming, her mascara running down her face. And I continued sitting there, drinking my coffee, looking out the glass window at the movement of Union Station down below. Because for the first time in 42 years, I was not going to run to rescue my son. This time, he was going to have to wake up alone and face the truth I had hidden all my life. And when he woke up, his life would never be the same again. But to understand why that faint happened, you need to know my story from the beginning. And I promise that every word you hear is real, painful, and necessary. Do you know what it is like to wake up at 4:30 in the morning every single day for 15 years? Not to do yoga or meditate like these Instagram influencers teach. Waking up to chop onions with your eyes burning, sautéing chicken in ancient pots you inherited from your mother-in-law, packing meals into plastic containers that you washed and reused until they turned opaque from so much scrubbing. This was my life from 1983 until 1998. My name is Nancy. I am 67 years old, and when I was 27, my world collapsed for the first time. Arthur, my husband, the love of my life, the man who made me laugh even when the electric bill was overdue, died in a car accident coming back from a business meeting in Indianapolis. It was a rainy Friday in March. I was 4 months pregnant with Ryan. I remember the police officer knocking on the door. I remember the sound of the rain hitting the aluminum awning of our small house in the suburbs. I remember falling to my knees in the living room and feeling a pain so strong in my chest, I thought I was going to die right there, next to him. But I did not die, because I had a life growing inside me, and that life needed me whole, not in pieces. Arthur was a minority partner in a logistics company. He owned 15% of the partnership. We were not rich, but we were not starving either. We had enough. A simple house, but ours. An old car, but it ran. Food on the table, and plans. So many plans. When he died, the company was allegedly broke. Debts everywhere. The other partners offered $8,000 for his share. $8,000 in 1983. It was money, yes, but it was nothing close to what Arthur had invested there. But I had no choice. I was pregnant, alone, without close family. My mother had died years before. My father, I never really knew. Arthur's family disappeared as soon as we buried him. It is funny how family vanishes when you are no longer useful, isn't it? I took those $8,000, paid for the funeral, the debts we had, and was left with a little over $3,000. With that money, I bought a used sewing machine and materials to make baby layettes. Because I needed to work, and working from home was the only option for a widow 4 months pregnant who did not even have a college degree. Ryan was born in August, a beautiful boy, chubby, full of black hair. When they put him in my arms, I cried so much the nurse thought I had postpartum depression. But it was not depression, it was fear. An immense fear of not being able to give that baby everything he deserved. And do you know the first thing I did when I left the maternity ward? I went to a pawn shop downtown and sold my wedding ring. I needed money for diapers and formula. Arthur's ring I did not sell, nor the silver watch he wore every day. Those two things I kept in a shoebox, along with our marriage certificate and the photos of our simple wedding at the church. I said to myself, Nancy, one day you will give this watch to Ryan, when he is a man, when he understands the value of things. 42 years later, that watch was still with me, because Ryan never understood the value of anything. The first few years were the hardest. I sewed baby clothes during the day while Ryan slept. At night, when he woke up crying, I rocked him on my shoulder while sewing with the other hand. My fingers were constantly pricked by needles. My back ached from being hunched over the machine, but I could not stop. Every embroidered blanket was food on the table. Every hem was the rent paid. When Ryan was 3 years old, sewing was not enough anymore. The money did not stretch. That was when I started making dinner plates for sale. I woke up at 4:30, prepared 30 meals, left Ryan sleeping, he was quiet, thank God, and went out to deliver them by bus. I ran back to give him breakfast, took him to the community preschool, and in the afternoon, I cleaned houses. I cleaned 3 houses a day, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I made $50 per house, $150 a week, $600 a month when it was a full month. With the meal catering, I made another $800. In total, I made $1,400, working 16 hours a day. And do you know what Ryan told me when he was 16 and discovered how much I earned? Mom, you earn peanuts. Why don't you get a real job? A real job. As if waking up at dawn to feed 30 people was not a real job. As if scrubbing other people's floors until your knees bled was not a real job. But I swallowed it, smiled, said things would get better, always saying things would get better. Ryan grew up ashamed of me. It is not easy to write that, but it is the truth. He was ashamed of the mother who arrived at the parent-teacher conference smelling like garlic because she came straight from the kitchen. He was ashamed of the mother who did not have a car, while the other mothers picked up their kids in brand-new minivans. He was ashamed of the mother who did not dress well, who made his clothes at home because she could not buy them at the mall. One time, he was about 12, he asked me not to pick him up at the school gate. "Mom, can you wait over there on the corner? The kids are teasing me." I waited on the corner. Under the hot sun at 2 p.m, with heavy grocery bags cutting into my arms, I waited hidden so my son would not feel embarrassed by me. And even so, I loved that boy with every fiber of my being. When he finished high school, he wanted to study civil engineering at a private university because he did not get into the state school. The tuition was $850 a month. $850, more than half of what I earned with the catering. That was when I started making gourmet truffles. I learned by watching YouTube videos at the local library. I bought nice molds, decorative boxes. I made 200 truffles every weekend and sold them at the farmer's market, $2 each, $400 a weekend, $1,600 a month just with truffles, besides everything else. For 5 years I did that. 5 years waking up at dawn, tempering chocolate, rolling ball after ball with calloused hands, placing them in colorful wrappers, all to pay for my son's college. Do you know how many times Ryan thanked me in those 5 years? None. Not once. When he graduated in 2008, I organized a small party here at home. I made appetizers, bought soda, invited the neighbors. I was so proud. My son, an engineer, son of a seamstress and a widow, a degreed engineer. He arrived at the party, stayed 20 minutes, and left. He said he had a commitment with his college friends, with his real friends, I imagine he meant. I stood there with the appetizers getting cold on the table, listening to Mrs. Edna from next door trying to console me. "Let it be, Nancy. Young boys are like that. He loves you. He just doesn't know how to show it." But I already knew, deep down, that it was not a question of not knowing how to show it. It was a question of not feeling it. Years passed. Ryan got a job at a big construction firm. He started earning well, $4,000 to $5,000 a month. He rented an apartment in River North. Small apartment, but in a building with a doorman, a pool, those things. I stayed in my simple 2-bedroom house in Cicero, with the cracked walls that I painted every now and then with counted money. He visited me maybe once a month. Sometimes he went 2 months. Always in a hurry, always looking at his phone, always leaving fast. I never asked him for money. Never. I continued making my meals, my truffles, cleaning my houses, because I had pride, and because, deep down, I still hoped that one day he would arrive and say, "Mom, thank you for everything." But that day never came. And then, in 2019, he met Vanessa, that woman who was going to transform my son from an ungrateful child into a cruel stranger. But that part of the story, that part needs special attention. Because when Vanessa entered Ryan's life, I did not just lose a son, I lost the hope of ever being seen by him. Vanessa. Even today, her name comes out of my mouth with a bad taste. She showed up at a barbecue Ryan hosted at his apartment in September of 2019. He called me, rare thing, and said, "Mom, I'm having a barbecue on Saturday. I wanted you to meet someone important." Important person. My heart skipped a beat. It had been so long since he included me in anything in his life that I thought finally things were going to get better. I bought a new dress at a department store downtown. $120 that hurt my wallet, but I paid happily. I baked 2 cakes, 1 carrot cake with chocolate frosting and 1 orange cake with glaze. I took 2 buses to get to River North. When I rang the buzzer, it took about 5 minutes for someone to open. I heard laughter inside, loud music, that noise of people having fun. When the door finally opened, it was not Ryan who answered. It was her. Vanessa was 35 at the time, but looked younger. Black hair, obviously from an expensive salon, with highlights cascading down her back. Artificially tanned skin, long red nails that looked like claws. She was wearing a white linen outfit, pants and blouse, that probably cost more than what I earned in 2 months. And the smile. That smile of someone who bites but does not chew. "You must be Ryan's mother," she said. It was not a question, it was a statement. And the way she said Ryan's mother, not Mrs. Nancy, made it clear that to her I did not have a proper name. I was just a function. "It's me, Nancy. I brought some cakes." I started to extend the platters. She looked at the cakes as if I had brought something contaminated. "Oh, cute. Homemade cake." The word homemade came out with such disdain that I felt like I had been slapped. "Let me see if there is space on the table. We ordered pastries from the French bakery." She made a point of emphasizing the brand, as if I did not know that place was expensive, as if she needed to remind me that she had money to buy where I never could. I walked into the apartment, and what I saw squeezed my chest. There were about 15 people there, all well-dressed, all with that air of someone who never had to hustle a day in their life. Ryan was on the balcony with 3 men, all in polo shirts and brand-name shorts, imported beer in hand, laughing loudly at some joke. He saw me and waved. Just waved. He did not come to greet me, did not introduce me to anyone, and did not include me in any conversation. I stood there, standing in the living room, clutching my cake platters, not knowing where to sit, feeling every pair of eyes scanning me from head to toe. My new $120 dress suddenly looked like a floor rag next to all those clothes. It was Vanessa who guided me, or rather, pushed me, to the kitchen. "Come, let me show you where you can leave that," she said, already taking the platters from my hand. She put the cakes in the corner of the counter, behind a tower of French sweets that must have cost $300. My cakes, made with love, sat there, hidden, irrelevant. "Do you want a beer? Or we also have juice if you prefer," she offered. And the way she said juice made it clear she thought I did not have enough class to drink beer with them. "Water is fine, please," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "Is tap water okay, or do you prefer bottled?" She smiled, that hyena smile. "People, I am not stupid. I know when someone is belittling me. But she was my son's girlfriend, so I swallowed it and said, 'Tap is fine.'" I spent 3 hours in that apartment, 3 hours sitting in a corner of the sofa, watching my son ignore my presence while he grilled steaks for his friends and for that woman who had already decided I was a problem to be solved. Nobody ate my cake. At the end of the night, when I went to leave, again without Ryan offering to drive me or call a ride, Vanessa handed me back the containers with the cakes intact. It was a shame. Nobody managed to eat everything. But take it. You can enjoy it at home. That hurt more than any slap in the face. In the cab back, $87 that I paid alone, I cried silently in the back seat. The driver noticed, but said nothing, just turned up the music volume. But the worst was yet to come. Ryan and Vanessa got married 6 months later. He called to notify me. Did not ask for an opinion. Did not ask what I thought. Just notified me. Mom, Vanessa and I are getting married in October. I'll send the invite later. The wedding was at a country club in Lake Forest, one of those places with a huge garden, crystal chandeliers, everything white and gold. You could tell from a mile away that this cost a fortune. Her family paid for everything. Vanessa made a point of making that clear. When I received the invite 2 weeks before the wedding, I saw that my name was handwritten on the envelope, not printed like the others, and it came with a separate note from Vanessa. Mrs. Nancy, the wedding has a dress code, black tie. Any questions? Let me know, and I can direct you to a costume rental shop. Costume rental, as if I was not capable of buying a party dress. I bought one. I spent $480 on a pearl gray dress at a department store clearance sale. It was beautiful, simple, but elegant. I did my nails, fixed my hair at a cheap salon. I wanted to be presentable for my only son's wedding. I arrived at the venue at 4:30, half an hour before the ceremony. The entrance was already full of people. Imported cars, valet parking, women in high heels and expensive gowns, men in Italian suits. I felt like an intruder. At the reception, a young woman, all smiles, with a clipboard, asked my name and checked the list. Madame is at table 17, she said, pointing to the back of the hall. Table 17. I looked at the seating chart displayed there. Table 1 was for the newlyweds. Tables 2, 3, and 4 were her family. Tables 5 to 8 were close friends. Table 17 was practically in the kitchen, literally next to the service door where the waiters went in and out with trays. I felt my legs wobble, but I breathed deep and went over there. At the table were 7 other people I had never seen in my life. I found out later. They were Ryan's co-workers and their spouses. No one from family. Only me, the groom's mother, left in the back of the room like a distant cousin nobody wanted around. The ceremony was beautiful, I cannot deny. Vanessa was radiant in a dress that must have cost $20,000. Ryan was elegant, happy, smiling at her as if she was the only good person in the world. When he walked past table 17, heading to the altar, our eyes met for a second. Just a second. And I saw something there I will never forget. Indifference. My son looked at me with the same indifference you look at a waiter you are not going to call over. I cried during the entire ceremony, but nobody noticed because nobody was looking at me. At dinner, the food was wonderful. Shrimp cocktail, filet mignon, 3 chocolate mousse dessert. But every forkful went down heavy in my throat because I was swallowing food seasoned with humiliation. The bride and groom made rounds at the tables to greet the guests. Started at table 1, obviously, then 2, 3, 4. Went table by table, taking photos, talking, laughing. When they reached table 17, Vanessa waved from afar. Just waved. And pulled Ryan by the arm. Honey, come on. Let's talk to the people at table 18. They are your father's partners. Partners of her father. These deserved attention. I, the groom's mother, did not deserve a single hug. I left before the cake. I couldn't take it. I called the ride share, $103, and went back to Cicero with my heart in tatters and my feet hurting in the tight shoes I had bought specially for that day. On the way, I thought about all the times I imagined Ryan's wedding. Since he was little, I dreamed of this day. Me dancing the mother-son dance with him thanking me in the speech, me crying tears of joy seeing my boy happy. But none of those dreams included a table at the back of the room. None of them included being treated like dead weight. And none of them prepared my heart for what came next. Because after that wedding, things only got worse. Vanessa had gotten what she wanted, a husband who idolized her, and a mother-in-law she could erase from history. And for 3 years, that is exactly what she did. 3 years passed since that wedding. 3 years where my contact with Ryan was summarized in short text messages. Morning, Mom, all good? And 2 visits a year, on his birthday in August and at Christmas. It was not life. It was emotional survival. I kept going with my catering, now doing less because my body could not handle the same rhythm. 67 years are not 67 years when you spent 40 of them hustling 16 hours a day. My bones ached. My hands had arthritis. My spine complained every time I bent down to pick up a pot. But I kept going, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking hurt more than any physical pain. It was on a Saturday, April 22nd, 10 in the morning, that my phone rang, one of those strident ringtones you set for important calls. It was Ryan. My heart raced. He never called on Saturday mornings. Something was wrong. Hello? Son? Is everything okay? I answered with my voice already trembling. Mom, I won! I won the Powerball! His voice was so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. On the other side of the line, I heard Vanessa screaming too, hysterical with joy. The sound of things falling, glasses clinking, that euphoria that only big money causes. Son? What? Won what? I was not processing it yet. The Powerball, Mom, all 6 numbers. $18 million. $18 million. The floor disappeared beneath my feet. I sat on the kitchen chair, my hand shaking so much I almost dropped the mug of coffee I was drinking. My God, son, are you sure? Did you check carefully? 3 times. Vanessa checked, I checked. We called the lottery commission and confirmed. It's real, Mom. I'm a millionaire. We are millionaires. That we are millionaires filled me with a foolish hope, stupid looking back now. But in that moment, I really thought he was including me, that after all these years of coldness, money was going to bring my son back to me. How wrong I was. Mom, come over here. Come celebrate with us. I'm going to call everyone. It's going to be a party. Get an Uber. I'll pay. No, wait. I'll send an Uber for you right now. He sent one, an Uber Black, a luxury I had never experienced. A car smelling like new leather, soft seats, a polite driver calling me ma'am with genuine respect. On the way, I cried and smiled at the same time. My son had won the lottery. My son was not going to need to hustle anymore, was not going to have financial worries anymore, was going to be able to live peacefully. And the best part? He called me to celebrate. He included me. Finally, after so long, I was going to be close to him in an important moment. I stopped at a bakery on the way and bought ingredients to make a cake. I insisted. Orange cake with glaze. Arthur's mother's recipe. The grandmother Ryan never met, but who loved stories. I used the last $90 I had in my wallet on those ingredients. Quality flour, free-range eggs, organic oranges. I wanted to make something special. I arrived at his apartment at 12:40. The door was ajar. From inside came all that commotion, animated voices, music playing. I rang the bell and pushed the door. The apartment was different. There were people I had never seen. A woman of about 50, extremely elegant, sitting on the sofa with a leather briefcase on her lap and a tablet in her hand. A man in a gray suit, rimless glasses, serious air, also with papers spread on the coffee table. And Vanessa in the middle of the room, talking nonstop, gesturing, eyes shining in a way that bordered on madness. So we are going to invest at least half in fixed income, about 30% in real estate, and the rest we leave liquid for... She stopped when she saw me. The smile froze. "Oh, Mrs. Nancy, you arrived." Mrs. Nancy. Not Mom, not Ryan's mother. Mrs. Nancy, as if I were the cleaning lady who had come to fix something. "Hi, Vanessa. I brought a cake to celebrate." I lifted the platter with both hands, proud of my work. She looked at the cake as if I had brought a dead cat. "Ah, how cute." She took the platter from my hands and put it on the kitchen island without even looking properly. We already ordered pastries from the French bakery, but thanks. Ryan appeared from the bedroom, cell phone glued to his ear, talking to someone about investments, stocks, things I understood nothing about. When he saw me, he waved quickly, mouthed a soundless, "Hi, Mom," and continued on the call. The woman on the sofa stood up and introduced herself. Luciana Stone, financial consultant. Vanessa hired me to help with estate planning. She shook my hand mechanically, already turning her face back to Vanessa before I even squeezed back. And the man in the suit? Mr. Maurice Rivers, attorney specializing in probate and wealth management. Wealth management. 18 million became wealth in a matter of hours. I sat on the sofa, or rather, squeezed myself into a corner of the sofa because the coffee table was full of papers, charts, printed spreadsheets. I sat there, quiet, watching that back and forth while I became invisible. Vanessa talked nonstop. "We need a new car. That SUV isn't cutting it anymore. I'm thinking of a Porsche Cayenne. What do you guys think? And the house? Is there that new gated community in Lake Forest? Houses for $5 million? Private pool? 24-hour security?" Ryan had hung up the phone and joined her, both sitting on the floor, surrounded by photos of luxury real estate printed from the realtor's website. "This one here is beautiful, babe. 4 suites, gourmet outdoor kitchen, complete leisure area." He pointed excitedly. Gourmet outdoor kitchen. My son, who ate his whole life from my little brick grill in the backyard. I was there 2 hours. 2 hours listening to millionaire plans, listening to Vanessa dream out loud about trips to Paris, Dubai, Maldives. 2 hours seeing my son transform into someone I did not recognize, until I, innocent, dumb, too hopeful, opened my mouth. "Son," my voice came out low, almost shy, "are you going to help Mr. Henderson down at the mechanic shop? Remember? He gave you rides to the university every day for 2 years, never charged anything." The silence that fell in the room was heavy. Ryan looked at me with an expression I had never seen. Irritation. Pure irritation. "Mom, please, don't start." "Don't start what, son? Mr. Henderson gave you a ride because he was going the same way. It wasn't a favor. And I always filled his tank. It wasn't free." Lie. Blatant lie. Mr. Henderson drove 3 miles out of his way every day to pick Ryan up, and Ryan never, ever paid for gas. But I was not going to argue in front of those people. "Okay, son, sorry." Vanessa rolled her eyes so exaggeratedly that even the lawyer saw. "Ryan, honey, let's focus. We have a lot to decide today." She pulled his attention back to the spreadsheets. It was in that moment I should have left, taken my things, my cake that nobody was going to eat, and gone home with the shred of dignity I had left. But I didn't go, because that idiot part of my heart still had hope that, at any moment, my son was going to remember I was there and was going to include me in the conversation, was going to ask me what I thought, was going to share this joy with me for real. 5 p.m., the financial consultant and the lawyer left. Vanessa ordered Japanese food. $320 in sushi and sashimi. When it arrived, she served it on the kitchen island and called Ryan. "I won't even get plates, babe. Let's eat straight from the package. I'm starving." They ate there, the 2 of them, talking low about next week's schedule, meeting at the bank, house visits, test drive at the dealership. My cake remained untouched on the counter, and nobody offered sushi to me. It was there, in that pathetic moment, sitting on the sofa, watching my son eat expensive food without even remembering his mother was there, that something inside me started to crack. It didn't break yet, but it cracked. "Son, I think I'm going. It's late. I stood up, took my purse. "Okay, Mom, bye. Anything comes up, I'll call you." He didn't even look at me. Was on his phone, seeing something, laughing at some nonsense. Vanessa came to the door with me, always her, playing the role of polite wife. "Thanks for coming, Mrs. Nancy. It was good having you here." Lie, so obvious, it hurt. I went down the stairs. I didn't want to wait for the elevator because I was about to cry, and I wasn't going to give her the pleasure of seeing me vulnerable. In the lobby, I sat on a bench in the common area and cried. I cried silently, wiping the tears with the back of my hand, trying not to make noise. An Uber share back home, $31 split with 2 other people. Me, who had arrived in an Uber Black, gift from the millionaire's son. The cake stayed there. I forgot it. Or maybe I didn't forget. Maybe I left it on purpose, hoping that at some point Ryan would see that cake, remember me, and feel at least a drop of remorse. But he didn't feel it, because 2 days later, the worst was yet to come. And when the worst arrived, it arrived with words so sharp they cut deeper than any knife. Sunday, 7 at night. Ryan called me asking me to come back over. "Mom, come have dinner with us. Vanessa made lasagna." Vanessa making lasagna. That woman who I had never seen even fry an egg. But I went because I am a mom. And moms are like that. Even after being forgotten on the sofa, even after seeing their own cake being ignored, we still go when they call. We still believe that this time will be different. I arrived by bus, 2 transfers, an hour and 15 minutes of travel. Could have ordered an Uber, but my $90 from the cake still hurt the budget. I arrived at 8:30. The door was closed this time. I rang the bell and waited. It took a while. Heard dragging footsteps, someone complaining, "Who is it at this hour?" And finally Ryan opened. He was in shorts and an old t-shirt, hair messy, face of someone who had slept the whole afternoon. In his eyes, that slightly disoriented shine of someone who is still processing that life changed overnight. "Hi, Mom. Come in." There was no hug. There was no "good to see you," just a monosyllabic "come in." And he was already turning his back, returning to the sofa where he was watching something on television. Vanessa was in the kitchen. When I entered, I saw there was no lasagna at all. There were delivery containers spread on the counter. Mediterranean food, falafel, hummus, tabbouleh. "Oh, Mrs. Nancy, yeah. Changed my mind about the lasagna. Seemed like too much work. Ordered takeout." She didn't even look at me while speaking, busy scrolling on her phone. "Too much work to make lasagna on the day you just won $18 million? Makes sense. It's okay. I can eat anything," I replied, keeping the tone neutral. Dinner was strange. Silent. Ryan ate looking at his phone. Vanessa ate looking at her phone. I ate looking at the plate, trying not to let the discomfort choke me along with the falafel. It was when we finished that it started. I had brought a small bag with some fruits I bought at the local market in Cicero. Oranges, bananas, papaya, simple things. I put them in their fridge, which was almost empty, by the way. "I brought some fruit for you guys. Bought it at the market. They looked nice." Vanessa opened the fridge, saw the fruits, and let out a short laugh, that kind of laugh that has no humor, only poison. "Oh, how cute. Neighborhood market." She picked up an orange and examined it like it was a foreign object. "Ryan, babe, we're going to start shopping at Whole Foods now. Organic fruits, you know? The ones that come in wooden crates. Fruits in wooden crates. $20 a papaya. $40 a bag of oranges. While there are people starving in the world." But I swallowed it. Again, I swallowed it. "Son," I started, the voice coming out weaker than I wanted. "My refrigerator broke last week. The technician said it can't be fixed, needs replacing. It's about $1,800 for a new one. I wanted to know if you—" I didn't finish the sentence. Ryan's face changed. It was instantaneous. His eyes widened, his jaw locked. That vein in his forehead that always popped when he was nervous started to pulse. "Seriously, Mom?" His voice came out between his teeth. "You came here to ask for money?" "Son, it's not asking. It's that It's not asking? He stood up from the chair, voice rising 2 octaves. Then what is it? Because as far as I know, asking for money is exactly that. Arriving here with your broken fridge story, wanting me to solve it. I felt like I had taken a punch in the stomach. Ryan, I never asked you for anything. Never. In 42 years, this is the first time. The first time, he laughed. But it wasn't a laugh. It was scorn. Mom, do you think I forgot? Forgot all the times you casually mentioned the gas bill went up, that the electric bill was expensive, that your blood pressure medicine price hiked? I froze. Because yes, I had mentioned those things, but never as a request for help. They were just conversations, comments about life, the kind of things mothers talk about with their children, or at least that was what I thought. Son, I never wanted you to give me money in those moments. I was just talking, conversing. Vanessa entered the room, arms crossed, that posture of someone who was waiting for this moment for a long time. Mrs. Nancy, do you know what emotional manipulation is? It is exactly that, throwing out comments, creating guilt, until the person feels obligated to help. Emotional manipulation. She had just accused me of emotional manipulation. Vanessa, I tried to speak, but my voice failed. Ryan, we need to talk about this. She turned to him, hand on his shoulder, that gesture of possession. Your money is going to attract a lot of people, Ryan. A lot of people from outside. A lot of people from inside the family. We need to set boundaries now, before it snowballs. Boundaries. She was talking about me as if I were an external threat, as if I were one of those people who appear out of nowhere when someone wins the lottery. Mom, Ryan wiped his hand across his face, that gesture of someone who is exhausted. Vanessa is right. We need to be careful. This money is our future. We can't go distributing it to everyone who shows up with a problem. Everyone who shows up with a problem. I had become everyone. Ryan, my voice came out broken. I am your mother, and I am your son, he exploded. I know you raised me alone. I know it was hard. I know all that. But until when, Mom? Until when am I going to have to carry that debt? Until when am I going to have to feel guilty for wanting to have a good life? Every word was a stab wound. I never charged you anything, I whispered. Didn't charge? The existence of you is a charge. Every time I see you in that house falling to pieces, every time you come here with your simple clothes, your homemade cakes, it is a silent charge. It is a reminder that I have and you don't. I felt my legs fail. I leaned against the wall because I was certain I was going to fall. Son, was all I could say. Son! Ryan, calm down. Vanessa put her hand on his chest, doing that little theater of a worried wife. But in her eyes, I saw satisfaction. She was enjoying this. Honey, your mother needs to understand. We are going to have many important meetings this week with bankers, investors, serious people. We need to focus. Can't resolve family drama every hour. Family drama. I was a family drama. It was in that moment it happened. I had in my hand a porcelain teacup, white with gold trim, a cup my grandmother gave me when I married Arthur. One of the only things I had kept all those years, and that foolishly I brought to drink coffee there while they ate dinner. My hands were shaking so much the cup slipped. It fell on the porcelain floor, exploded into 1,000 pieces. The noise echoed in the room like a gunshot. Vanessa gave a dramatic jump, hand on chest. My God, look! It broke our floor. Ryan, that is from the collection we got for the wedding. It wasn't. That cup was mine. But she lied to my face, and Ryan didn't defend me. Sorry. I bent down to pick up the shards, hands shaking, tears starting to blur my vision. Leave it, Mom. The maid cleans it tomorrow. Ryan spoke with such coldness that the shards of the cup seemed less sharp than his words. I stood up. I looked at my son, really looked, and I saw a stranger. Ryan, my voice came out firm now, firm and frozen. Tell me one thing. When you won that money, what was the first feeling you had? Happiness or relief that finally you wouldn't need me anymore? The silence was absolute. He didn't answer, and the lack of an answer was answer enough. "Mom, I think it's better if I go home." Vanessa stepped forward, already grabbing my purse that was on the sofa and extending it to me. "It was a long day for everyone. We need to rest. Ryan has a meeting at the bank Wednesday morning to claim the prize. Lots to sort out." Wednesday morning, meeting at the bank. I took my purse, didn't say anything, just looked at Ryan one last time, hoping, still hoping, even after everything, that he would say something, ask me to stay, apologize, go back to being my son. But he didn't come back. "Bye, Mom. I'll call later." I left that apartment with my back straight and head held high, but in the elevator alone, I collapsed. I cried every second of the 12 floors to the lobby. I cried at the bus stop waiting for the transfer. I cried silently in the crowded bus on a Sunday night, praying no one would recognize me, no one would ask what happened. I arrived home at 11 at night. The empty house, the broken refrigerator buzzing irritatingly, the shards of my heart scattered along the path. But it was there, sitting alone in my dark kitchen, that something changed. It wasn't anger, it wasn't resentment. It was clarity, cold, sharp, liberating clarity. I got up, turned on the light, went to my room, and opened the old wooden wardrobe. In the back, under blankets I hadn't used in years, was a faded shoebox. I opened it. Inside were documents I had kept for decades. Yellowed papers, a photo of Arthur, his death certificate, and a manila envelope with the letterhead of a law firm. Mr. Henderson, Pro Bono Law. Inside the envelope, a letter dated 2 weeks ago. "Dear Mrs. Nancy, it is with immense satisfaction that we inform you, after 38 years of litigation, case number 4892-1985 has reached a final verdict. You are entitled to compensation in the amount of $2,300,000. $2,300,000, referring to the irregular dissolution of the partnership of which your late husband was a member. $2,300,000, money that was mine, money that I had conquered after almost 4 decades of waiting, of paperwork, of a judicial process that I followed in silence with the help of a kind lawyer I met at church, money that I was going to use to help Ryan, to surprise him, to make him see that the mother, poor and holding him back, had in truth managed to guarantee a better future for both. But now I had another plan. I grabbed my cell phone, called Mr. Henderson, even though it was almost midnight. He answered, always answered when I needed. "Mr. Henderson, sorry for the hour. I need to schedule an urgent meeting at the bank. I want to deposit the settlement money. And I need a favor." On the other side of the line, he listened to everything that had happened. And when I finished, his voice came firm. "Mrs. Nancy, you will have the justice you deserve. I guarantee it." Wednesday, 2 in the afternoon, First National Bank. My son was going to claim $18 million, and he was going to discover that the broke mother he humiliated had more than money. She had dignity, and when someone loses their dignity in the pursuit of money, they discover they lost everything. Mondays were always my laundry day. 40 years of my life, every Monday was a day to hang sheets on the line, wring out dish towels, leave towels drying in the hot sun. But on that Monday, April 24th, I didn't wash any clothes. I woke up at 5 in the morning, not because I needed to, but because I couldn't sleep. I sat in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling of my room, listening to the noise of the first buses passing on the avenue, thinking about every word Ryan had spit in my face on Sunday. I do not need a broke mother holding me back. I got up, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with the steaming mug in hand, a common mug, glass, one of those you buy in a set of 6 for $15. Nothing porcelain, nothing of emotional inheritance that could break and take a piece of me with it. The manila envelope from Mr. Henderson was open in front of me. I reread the letter for the 5th time in 12 hours. $2,300,000. Numbers that seemed unreal, almost obscene there in my simple kitchen, with the broken refrigerator humming its death song, with the faucet dripping because the washer was worn out. I picked up the phone, dialed. "Mr. Henderson, good morning. Sorry to bother you so early." His voice came calm, always calm. "Mrs. Nancy, you never bother. Did you manage to sleep?" "Not much." I took a sip of coffee. "I need a meeting at the bank today. Is that possible?" "Today? Let me check here." I heard him typing on the other side. "I can get you in at 3 p.m. at the downtown branch. I'm going to call the regional manager right now." "Regional manager?" "Mrs. Nancy, $2,300,000 isn't deposited at the teller window. You are going to be a special client. Premium. You'll have a dedicated manager, private lounge, the full VIP treatment." VIP. Me, Nancy, the seamstress from Cicero, a VIP client. The irony was so big, I almost laughed. Almost. "Is there something else, Mr. Henderson?" I hesitated. "My son is going to claim the lottery prize this week. At the bank, too. Can you find out what day?" Silence on the other side. Then, "Mrs. Nancy, are you sure about this? About what you are planning?" "I am." My voice came out firmer than I expected. "He needs to know. He needs to understand that the mother he humiliated, that he kicked out, that he called dead weight, is not what he thinks. Leave it to me. I'll find out." I hung up and stayed there looking at the kitchen wall where there was an old framed photo. Me and Ryan. Him about 8 years old, smiling in front of Millennium Park. It was his birthday. I had made truffles the whole week to afford that outing. Park entrance, popcorn, a cheap remote control car he wanted so much. In that photo, he looked at me as if I were the most important woman in the world. When did that change? When did I stop being mom and become a problem? I got up, took the photo off the wall, put it inside a box in the kitchen. Not with anger, just with detachment. That boy in the photo didn't exist anymore. At 2:15 in the afternoon, I was in front of my bedroom mirror, choosing what to wear. I had 3 options: the pearl gray dress I used at the wedding, black pants with a white blouse I used for church, or the beige linen suit I bought 6 months ago on clearance and never wore because I was saving it for a special occasion. I chose the beige suit. I got ready calmly, applied lipstick, soft red, the kind that gives an air of seriousness without looking exaggerated, pinned my hair in a low bun, put on leather sandals I bought in 2019 and only used for weddings and anniversaries, and took Arthur's silver watch. My fingers trembled when I opened the velvet box where it was kept. Years since I wore it. Was afraid to lose it, break it, get robbed on the bus. But on that day, I needed it with me. Needed to feel its weight on my wrist, as if Arthur was there saying, "Go, Nancy, you deserve it." I put it on my left wrist. The cold metal against my skin gave me chills. I grabbed my leather purse, the genuine one I bought with my first paycheck after I stopped catering, and got a fixed job as a cook at a private school. $53 a day, Monday to Friday, with benefits. It was the first clean money I earned after 40 years in the informal economy. With that first salary, I bought that bag, $240 at a store on Michigan Avenue. The saleswoman had looked at me with disdain. My simple clothes, my style of people who didn't have money. But when I put the bills on the counter, her look changed. I never forgot that moment. The feeling of being able to buy something quality without needing to pay in installments, without needing to ask for a discount, without needing to humiliate myself. And on that day, going to the bank, I was going to feel that again, but multiplied by millions. The Uber arrived at 2:30. Regular Uber, not black. Didn't need luxury, needed dignity. On the way, the driver tried to make conversation. "Going downtown to work, ma'am?" "Going to handle some things at the bank," I replied, looking out the window. "Bank is always a headache, right? Lines, bureaucracy." "Today there won't be a line." I spoke more to myself than to him. I arrived at First National Bank at 2:55. The building is huge, all glass, reflecting the afternoon sun. People entering and exiting, majority with tired faces, carrying papers, complaining about the wait. I entered through the main door and a receptionist stopped me. "Good afternoon. Does ma'am have an appointment?" I do. Nancy, meeting with Mr. Phillips, regional manager. She checked on the computer. Her expression changed instantly. Eyes widened slightly, smile became broader, posture more erect. Oh, yes. Ma'am is a premium client. Please, follow me. I'm going to take you straight to the VIP lounge. Premium client. She said that out loud, and people around looked. A lady of about 70, well-dressed, but without exaggeration, being treated as a premium client. I went up in the exclusive elevator, the one that only worked with an access card. The receptionist used hers and pressed the 10th floor. When the doors opened, it was another world. Silent carpet, air conditioning at the perfect temperature, leather armchairs, paintings on the walls, and silence. That silence of big money, where problems are solved in low voices and with discretion. Right this way, Mrs. Nancy. The VIP lounge had a mahogany table, 6 brown leather armchairs, a huge window with a view of the city skyline down below, and a minibar with water, espresso, and even champagne. Mr. Phillips received me personally, a man of about 45 years, impeccable navy suit, red tie, a genuine smile that caught me by surprise. Mrs. Nancy, what a joy to meet you again. He extended his hand, and when I shook it, he covered it with his other hand in that gesture of true human warmth. I didn't recognize him immediately. Mr. Phillips, sorry, but you don't remember me, do you? Normal. I was a kid, James, son of Mrs. Martha. Mrs. Martha. The name hit me like lightning. Mrs. Martha? The seamstress from Northside? That's her, my mother. He smiled, eyes watering slightly. You used to bring plate dinners to her in 1995, remember? My mother was going through hard times after my father died. No money, 3 kids to raise. You found out and started bringing meals every day, for free, for 6 months. Said it was leftovers that were going to spoil, but I knew it wasn't leftovers. You were giving food to us. I remembered. Mrs. Martha, thin, deep eyes, hands trembling from so much sewing and so little eating. And the 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. The oldest must have been about 10. Were you the oldest? I whispered. I was. And today, I am the regional manager of the bank because of you. Because you fed us when we were hungry. My mother managed to get back on her feet. I managed to study, pass the exams. And when I saw your name on the schedule today, along with the lawyer, I knew it was you. Checked everything. It is you, the woman who saved my family. I felt tears burning but didn't let them fall. James, you've grown so much. And you remain the same, a fighter, dignified. He pointed to the chair. Sit, please. Let's resolve everything. Mr. Henderson told me your situation and told me about your son. I sat. He served espresso in a tiny white porcelain cup. The coffee was strong, bitter, perfect. Mrs. Nancy, your son's scheduled to claim the prize on Friday, tomorrow at 2 p.m, right here in this room. Tomorrow. I want to be here, I said firmly. I want him to see me. I want him to know. Mr. Phillips nodded slowly. Are you sure? It's going to be painful for both of you. I know, but I need to... He called me a broke mother who holds him back. He kicked me out of his house because I asked for help to buy a refrigerator. He needs to know that the mother he humiliated has more than money. She has history. She has conquest. She has value. Then let's do this. Mr. Phillips opened a folder. You deposit the $2.3 million today. I open your premium account. Configure your investments according to Mr. Henderson's guidance, and tomorrow at 2 p.m, you will be here with me when your son arrives. And that was exactly what we did. I signed papers, typed passwords, confirmed deposits, and in 40 minutes I stopped being Nancy the seamstress from Cicero and became Nancy, premium client of First National Bank with $2.3 million in the account. When I left the bank at 5 p.m, the sun was starting to set. The golden light hit the glass buildings of the skyline. I took an Uber back home, and during the whole trip, I looked at Arthur's watch and said to my wrist, "Tomorrow, honey," I whispered to the watch. "Tomorrow he will understand." I arrived home, took off the beige suit, stored it carefully, took a shower, made a simple vegetable soup, ate at the kitchen table, alone, in the silence of my house. And for the first time in weeks, I slept the whole night, without nightmares, without anguish, because I knew that the next day, at 2 p.m, my son was going to learn the hardest lesson of his life. And when pride and money blind a son, only the naked and raw truth can open his eyes. Wednesday, day of reckoning. I woke up at 6 a.m, even without setting the alarm clock. The body knew that day was different. I got up, opened the bedroom window, let the fresh morning air enter. Chicago in April has a crisp air that stings the nose a little, but that day, even the crisp air seemed lighter. I made coffee, sat in the kitchen, and for the first time in 42 years, looked at Arthur's photo without feeling that tightness in the chest. I picked up the picture frame that was on the living room table. Him smiling, in a plaid shirt, arms crossed, that relaxed way that made me fall in love at 19. You knew, didn't you? I spoke to the photo, as if he could hear me. You knew that partnership was going to be worth something one day. It wasn't for nothing you insisted so much on those papers, even when everything was going wrong. Arthur had been a merchant, started selling car parts in a shop, worked so much, saved so much, that in 1981 he managed to enter as a minority partner of a new company, Translogistics, 15% stake, invested everything he had, $23,000 of that time. The company started well, delivered merchandise for stores, did cargo transport, had 3 trucks. But in 1983, with the economic crisis hitting, things fell apart. Clients stopped paying. Fuel skyrocketed. One of the trucks crashed and insurance didn't cover. Translogistics was sinking. That was when Arthur started fighting with the other partners. He wanted to try to save the company, get a loan, reduce costs. But the 2 majority partners, Richard and Paul, wanted to close everything, declare bankruptcy, each go their own way. I remember the arguments at home. Arthur arrived nervous, irritated, saying the partners were hiding something, that there was money coming in not appearing in the reports, that something was wrong. Nancy, they are cheating me. I know they are, but I can't prove it. He died 3 weeks later. Accident on the interstate, coming back from a tense meeting in Indianapolis where he had tried to get a new contract to save the company. When he died, I was 4 months pregnant and destroyed. Had no head to think about the company, the partnership, the lawsuit. The 2 partners came to the wake, Richard and Paul, in black suits, faces of condolence, and 2 weeks later appeared at my door with a proposal. Mrs. Nancy, the company is broke. There is no way to continue. We are going to close operations. We are offering $8,000 for Arthur's share. It is all we can manage. $8,000. At that time, it seemed like money. I had nothing, needed something to start over. I signed, took the money and tried to go on with life. And Translogistics closed its doors in May of 1983. Or at least, that was what they said. Because in 1997, 14 years later, I was watching the evening news and almost fell off the chair. The report was about a logistics company that had just closed a multi-million-dollar contract with the federal government for cargo transport. The name of the company? Translogistics and Transport Limited. The same company. But now it wasn't broke anymore. It was giant. Fleet of 50 trucks, headquarters in 4 states, contracts with big supermarket chains and with the government itself. I felt my blood freeze. I called the number that appeared on the company website, spoke with the secretary, asked for the partners. She confirmed, Richard and Paul, the same ones. Those men had lied to me, had said the company was bankrupt, had paid me crumbs for Arthur's share, and then rebuilt everything alone, kept everything. I didn't know what to do, had no money for a lawyer, had no legal knowledge, was just a widow with a teenage son working 16 hours a day to survive. I kept that information in my chest like a shard of glass. It hurt, but there was no way to remove it. Until 2003. I was at the Baptist Church in Cicero on a Sunday morning. The pastor had invited a lawyer to give a lecture on labor rights for the community. The man was about 50, gray hair, thin glasses, a calm way of speaking that passed confidence. At the end of the lecture, he said, "If anyone here has any legal questions, you can seek me out. I do some pro bono work for those who can't pay." I stayed. When everyone left, I approached him with legs shaking from nervousness. "Sir, my name is Nancy. I wanted advice about a partnership my late husband had. I think I was scammed." Mr. Henderson listened to me for an hour, noted everything, asked for the documents I had, Arthur's death certificate, the partnership contract, the receipt for the $8,000 I received. 3 weeks later, he called me into his office. A small place, simple, but organized. "Mrs. Nancy, you were robbed. Legally robbed, but robbed. Those partners took advantage of your vulnerability, paid you peanuts, and kept everything. I am going to file a lawsuit, but I need you to understand. This can take years, decades even, and there is no guarantee we win. I understand, but I need to try. For Arthur, for me, for my son. Then let's fight." And it was exactly that, a fight. From 2003 until 2023, 20 years of litigation, appeals, motions, forensic accounting, testimonies. Translogistics hired expensive firms to defend themselves, alleged the company broke in 1983, and the one that exists today is another, founded in 1985. But Mr. Henderson proved it was the same. Same tax ID, same partners, fiscal continuity. Proved that Richard and Paul had hidden contracts, diverted money, lied about the bankruptcy, that they knew the company had potential but wanted to keep everything. So they pushed the minority partner, Arthur, out, offering crumbs to the vulnerable widow. In 2018, we won in the first instance, but they appealed. In 2020, we won in the second instance. They appealed again. In 2022, the Supreme Court gave the final verdict. I had the right to compensation equivalent to the 15% Arthur had in the company, calculated since 1983 with monetary correction, interest, everything, $2,300,000. The money hit my account in April of 2023, 2 weeks before Ryan won the lottery. And I didn't tell him. Do you know why? Because I wanted it to be a surprise. Wanted to arrive to my son and say, "Son, I did it. After 40 years, I got justice for your father. This money is ours. Let's use it to have a better life, together." I had plans. Wanted to help him invest better. Wanted to travel with him. Wanted to finally have that mother and son relationship we never had. I thought the money would bring us closer. But then came the lottery, $18 million. And my son showed who he really was. Showed that it was never a question of having or not having money. It was a question of character, or the lack of it. On the morning of that Wednesday at 10 a.m., I called Mr. Henderson. "I'm ready," I said. "You are a strong woman, Mrs. Nancy. Your husband would be proud." I hung up. Dressed in the same beige linen suit, the same soft red lipstick, put on Arthur's silver watch, grabbed my leather bag, and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back at me was no longer that Nancy, bent over, tired, resigned. It was a woman with a straight back, chin up, firm gaze. A woman who had survived 42 years of struggle, who had raised a son alone, who had waited 4 decades for justice, and finally conquered it. A woman who didn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore, especially not to an ungrateful son. I left the house at 12:30, arrived at First National Bank at 1:15. Mr. Phillips received me personally at the entrance. "Mrs. Nancy, are you prepared?" "I am." "Your son confirmed presence for 2 o'clock. Coming with the wife." "Great, I want her to see too." We went up to the VIP lounge. Mr. Phillips served coffee. We talked about pleasantries, him telling me about his mother, Mrs. Martha, who now had her own sewing shop and was doing well in life. 2 o'clock, the phone at reception rang. "Mr. Phillips, Mr. Ryan has arrived." My heart accelerated, but I maintained a calm expression. Send them up. I heard the elevator, heard hurried footsteps in the corridor, heard Vanessa's voice, loud, excited. Babe, $18 million in cash. Have you thought about where we are going to keep all that? The door opened, and when Ryan saw me sitting in that leather armchair with the regional manager by my side, with a cup of coffee in hand and that silver watch shining on my wrist, his world collapsed. Because there are things money buys, and there are things only the truth can pay for. The color vanished from Ryan's face in 2 seconds. It was like watching someone take an invisible punch to the stomach. His whole body tensed. His mouth opened in a silent, "Oh." His eyes widened so much you could see the white around the brown iris. Vanessa still hadn't understood. She entered behind him, all done up, dressed in bright orange, those ridiculously high stiletto heels, the Prada bag hanging on the arm that I was certain she had bought the same day as the lottery win. Her hair was different, even blacker, with those highlights that cost a fortune at a luxury salon. "Ryan, babe, why did you stop?" She froze when she saw me. Her eyebrow arched, that gesture of someone about to release some poison. "Mrs. Nancy? What is Madam doing here?" I didn't answer, just took a slow sip of my espresso, placed the porcelain cup back on the saucer with a delicate clink, and looked at Mr. Phillips. "Mr. Phillips, I think we can begin?" Mr. Phillips stood up, extended his hand to Ryan professionally. "Good afternoon, Mr. Ryan. I'm James Phillips, Regional Manager. Welcome." He nodded to the chairs. "Please, sit. You too, Mrs. Vanessa. I'm going to need some documents before we release the funds." Ryan didn't move, continued staring at me as if I were an apparition, a ghost, something impossible to be there. "Mom," his voice came out hoarse. "What? How? Why are you here?" It was Vanessa who broke the silence, already recovered from the initial shock, already returning to attack mode. "Ryan, she probably came to beg you to give her money." She turned to the manager. "Look, we already talked about this. My husband can't be distributing his winnings to everyone who shows up with their hand out." The room went so silent you could hear the hum of the air conditioning. "Mr. Ryan," Mr. Phillips cleared his throat uncomfortably, looked at me as if asking permission to intervene. I just shook my head slightly. "Number. Let her speak. Let her dig her own hole." "Vanessa," Ryan put his hand on her arm, voice low. "Don't talk like that to my mother." "It is too late to defend me, son. 42 years too late." "Mr. Ryan, Mrs. Vanessa," Mr. Phillips returned to professional tone, that neutral tone of someone who deals with awkward situations every day. "Shall we focus on the withdrawal procedure? Please, sit down." Vanessa pulled Ryan by the arm, and the two sat on the chairs facing the desk. She shot me a side eye, one of those poisonous looks a woman gives when she feels she is losing territory. Mr. Phillips opened a folder. "Before we initiate the process of withdrawing the $18 million, I need to inform you about some formalities. The value will be deposited in a special account. You will become premium clients of the bank. We'll have access to exclusive financial consulting." He continued speaking, but I saw Ryan wasn't paying attention. He kept looking at me sideways, trying to understand. Vanessa, on the other hand, drank every word, was already calculating, planning, dreaming awake with that money. That was when Mr. Phillips dropped the bomb. "And I take this opportunity to inform you that Mrs. Nancy is also our premium client. In fact, she arrived before you today because we had an estate planning meeting scheduled." Time stopped. Ryan blinked 3 times in a row, processing the information. "What?" "Mrs. Nancy," Mr. Phillips repeated calmly, "is a premium client of First National Bank since Monday of this week, deposited a significant amount, and is being attended by our high net worth investment sector." Vanessa let out a short laugh, one of those laughs of disbelief mixed with contempt. "Premium client? Mrs. Nancy?" She looked me up and down. "With what money?" Silence. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw that woman who had spent 3 years treating me like garbage, humiliating me, pushing me away from my own son. and felt nothing, neither anger nor hurt. Just a cold void where before there was hope she would change. $2,300,000, I said, voice coming out so calm even I was surprised. Legal settlement regarding the partnership my late husband had in translogistics. The lawsuit lasted 20 years. Won. The money hit my account 2 weeks ago. Vanessa's jaw dropped. Ryan went white. Not that white of astonishment, that white of someone who just understood he made the biggest mistake of his life. Mom, he tried to speak, but his voice failed. 2 weeks before your lottery, Ryan, I continued, implacable now, I received this news and was so happy because finally I could help you, could arrive to my son and say, we did it. After 40 years of struggle, we did it. Your father's money finally arrived, and I wanted to share it with you, wanted to invest in your future, in our future. I saw his hands shaking. But then you won the Powerball, and I thought, perfect. I'll wait for you to calm down with all this euphoria and then tell the news. Let's celebrate together, mother and son, finally, with conditions to live peacefully. My voice hardened. But you didn't give me time, did you, Ryan? You called me to your house, exposed me in front of strangers, called me a broke mother holding you back, kicked me out because I asked for help of $1,800 for a refrigerator, while you had just won $18 million. He was shaking now, really shaking, hands gripping the arms of the chair. I didn't know, he whispered. Of course you didn't know. My voice came out louder than I intended. I breathed deep, returned to calm tone. You didn't know because you never cared, never asked how I was, never wanted to know about my life. To you, I was always just the mother, that obligation you carried, that stone in the shoe reminding you where you came from. Vanessa tried to intervene, voice coming out shrill. Mrs. Nancy, you are exaggerating. Ryan always what? I turned my head to her so fast, she gave a little jump in the chair. Always loved me? Always respected me? Always treated me with dignity? Tell me, Vanessa, at which of your parties was I treated like your husband's mother? At the wedding, when they put me at table 17 near the kitchen? Or at the barbecue, when you said my homemade cake was cute with that mocking tone? She turned red, opened her mouth to respond, but no sound came out. Mr. Phillips cleared his throat again. Maybe it is better I give the family some time to talk. No need, Mr. Phillips. I got up from the chair, took my purse. I already finished my meeting. Are the documents for my trip to Europe ready? Yes, Mrs. Nancy. 6 months, first-class tickets, hotels booked, everything as you requested. Perfect. Europe. First class. I saw the shock multiply on Ryan's face. He stood up in a jump, almost knocking over the chair. Mom, wait, I need to talk to you. No, Ryan, you don't need to. I looked at him one last time on that day. You need to withdraw your $18 million, buy your Porsche, your $5 million house, travel to Dubai, do everything you planned with me sitting on the sofa, invisible, irrelevant. Mom, please. I'm not angry, son. I'm at peace. And it was true. I really was. For 42 years I blamed myself, thought I had failed as a mother, that if I had given more, done more, been more, you would love me. But now I understand. It is not about me, never was. It is about you, about who you chose to be. I walked towards the door. Mr. Phillips opened it for me, always polite. Mrs. Nancy, Ryan's voice was choked up now. I am so sorry. I didn't know. If I knew... I stopped at the door, turned. If you knew what, Ryan? That I had money? Then I would deserve respect? Then I would be good enough to be in your life? I shook my head. That only proves my point. You didn't lose a broke mother. You lost a mother who loved you unconditionally. And unlike a lottery prize, that cannot be recovered. I left. I heard a noise behind me, something falling, a body collapsing. I heard Vanessa screaming, Ryan! Ryan! Someone help! But I didn't go back. I entered the elevator, press the lobby button, and when the doors closed, cutting the vision of that VIP room, of that sun crumbling, of that life that wasn't mine anymore, I breathed. For the first time in 42 years, I breathed without the weight of carrying someone who never wanted to be carried. Outside the bank, the Chicago sun was strong. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. The sky was that impossible blue that only the Midwest has in spring. I grabbed my cell phone, called Mr. Henderson. "Mr. Henderson, can you confirm my ticket? I want to leave next week." "To Paris?" "To Paris. Always wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. Think it's time to live a little? For me, don't you think?" On the other side, he laughed. "Past time, Mrs. Nancy, past time." I hung up, called an Uber, and when the car arrived, a comfort, because I could choose now, I got in and said the address of my house in Cicero. But it wasn't a broken woman's house anymore. It was the house of a woman who had won. Because when you spend your whole life proving your worth to someone who doesn't want to see, the day you stop proving is the day you really win. I didn't see the exact moment Ryan fainted because I was already in the hallway, the door closing behind me. But I heard the dull thud of a 200-pound body hitting the marble floor. I heard Vanessa scream hysterically. I heard Mr. Phillips call the bank's nurse. I stood there, hands still on the doorknob, heart beating fast. For a second, just a second, I almost went back. Because I am a mother. And a mother, no matter how wounded, still feels that pulse in the chest when the child falls. But then I remembered his words, "Broke mother holding me back," and my feet continued walking. There was a waiting room right there with leather sofas and a coffee machine. I sat. I wasn't going to leave without knowing if he was okay. I am not inhumane. But I also wasn't going to run back like a dog that gets kicked and returns. 5 minutes later, Mr. Phillips appeared. "Mrs. Nancy, he is waking up. The nurse is in there." It was an emotional shock, nothing serious. But he hesitated. "He is asking for you. Begging, actually. Is he well enough to continue the withdrawal procedure?" Mr. Phillips blinked, surprised by the coldness of my question. "He is shaken, but maybe it is better to reschedule." "No. He came to get the money. Let him get it." I got up. And I am going to watch. I went back to the VIP lounge. The scene was pathetic. Ryan was sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall, tie loosened, hair messed up, face still pale. Had a bruise forming on his forehead where he hit when falling. The nurse, a young girl in white scrubs, was checking his blood pressure. Vanessa was crouched beside him, hands on his face, trying to look like the worried wife. But in her eyes, I saw something else. Calculation. She was worried, yes, but not about Ryan, about the money he might or might not manage to withdraw in that state. When Ryan saw me at the door, his eyes filled with tears. "Mom!" The voice came out weak, broken. I entered, sat in the same armchair as before, crossed my legs, waited. The nurse finished the procedure. "Pressure is normal now. It was an emotional shock. Sir needs to stay calm, breathe deep, drink water." She offered a cup. Ryan took it with trembling hands, drank in small sips. "I'm going to let you talk," the nurse said discreetly, leaving and closing the door. "Mr." Phillips stayed, but positioned himself in a discreet corner, messing with papers, pretending he wasn't listening. The silence in the room was dense, heavy. It was Ryan who broke it, voice coming out hoarse. "Mom, I don't have words." "Then don't speak." My voice was calm, frozen. "Sign the papers. Take your money. Go live your millionaire life." "No!" He tried to get up, but legs were still weak, stayed on his knees. "No, Mom, please, let me explain." "Explain what, Ryan?" I looked him in the eyes. "Explain how you called me dead weight? Explain how you kicked me out of your house for asking for $1,800? Explain how you sat in your apartment eating $300 sushi while I was on the sofa invisible. Go, explain." He lowered his head. Tears dripped onto the marble floor. "I was trash. I know. I have no excuse. You are right. I have no excuse. I breathed deep. Do you know what hurts the most, son? It's not even the disrespect. It is knowing that you are only sorry because you discovered I have money. If I had walked in here broke, really asking for a handout like Vanessa suggested, you would have kicked me out. Again. No, that's not true. He lifted his head, desperate. I was already feeling bad since Sunday. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat right. Vanessa noticed, asked me what it was, and I said I had treated you badly. Oh, really? I looked at Vanessa. And what did your wife say when you told her that? Vanessa turned red, looked away. Ryan also looked away. Silence. Didn't she? I stared at her. Tell me, Vanessa, did you tell him to call me? Or did you say I was being dramatic? Vanessa exploded. Look, Mrs. Nancy, I didn't know you had money. If I knew... There it is. I slapped my hand on the arm of the chair with such force, everyone jumped. That is the problem. If I knew you had money, it is only that which matters to you. Money, not character, not history, not love. Only money. I got up from the chair, took my purse. Mom, no! Ryan tried to get up again, managed this time, stumbled towards me. Please, give me a chance to fix this. Fix? I laughed. But there was no humor in that laugh. Ryan, you didn't break a plate. You broke 42 years. How do you fix that? Tell me. I'm going to change, I promise. I'm going to be the son you deserve. No, I shook my head. You are going to be what you always were, a man who measures the value of people by their bank account. And you know something? I don't want a son like that. His face crumbled, literally crumbled. Mouth trembled, eyes overflowed, body started to shake with sobs. Mom, I love you. Maybe you do. My voice was firm now. No anger, no pain, just final. But the love that only appears when it is convenient, the love that depends on the bank account, the love that comes after humiliation. This type of love I don't need anymore. I looked at Mr. Phillips. Mr. Phillips, I already finished everything I needed here. You can continue with Mr. Ryan's treatment. Yes, Mrs. Nancy. I turned to leave. Mom, please, Ryan shouted, voice echoing in the whole room. Don't abandon me. I need you. I stopped, turned back, and looked at him, at that 42-year-old man crying like a child, desperate, destroyed, and said the phrase I had rehearsed in my head all night. Ryan, I didn't abandon you. You kicked me out. There is a difference. And now you will have to live with that choice. You won $18 million in the lottery. Congratulations. Buy what you want. Travel where you want. New house, imported car, designer clothes, everything you always wanted. But there is one thing you won't be able to buy back. I paused. The greatest prize you ever had. A mother who loved you unconditionally, without money, without interest, without conditions. Only love. And that, my son, has no refund policy, no duplicate receipt, no way to recover. His crying transformed into a wail, a sound of pain so deep that even Mr. Phillips lowered his eyes, uncomfortable. Vanessa tried one last card. Mrs. Nancy, you are being unfair. Ryan made a mistake, but everyone deserves a second chance. You can't throw away family like that. I looked at her with such disdain she took a step back. Family? I repeated the word slowly. Vanessa, where were you when that boy cried with fever and I spent the night awake cooling his forehead? Where were you when I sold my lunch to pay for his lunch at school? Where were you in the 15 years I woke up at dawn to make plate dinners? You know nothing about family. You know about interest. And now that you discovered I also have money, suddenly I became family that can't be thrown away. She went mute. Ryan, I looked at my son one last time. I release you from guilt. You can live your life, happy, rich, free from the broke mother holding you back. I will do the same, will live my life. And for the first time in more than 40 years, I will live for me. I left. This time, I didn't hear any thud. No faint, just heard crying. A crying of a man who had just realized that there are losses no money replaces. In the elevator, alone, I looked at Arthur's watch on my wrist. It was 3:15 in the afternoon. "I did it, honey," I whispered to the watch. "I got the justice you deserved. And finally, I got the dignity I deserve." The elevator doors opened in the lobby. I walked out. The sunlight hit my face, and for the first time in decades, that light didn't seem heavy. It seemed like freedom. Because there is a type of victory that doesn't come with a party, with celebration, with shouts of joy. It comes with silence, with peace, with the certainty that you did what you needed to do, even if it hurt, especially when it hurt. The days that followed were strange. Not bad, not good, just different. Waking up in the morning and having no meals to cater, no clothes of anyone to wash, no phone ringing with Ryan asking for something, because he never asked for anything anyway, so even that didn't change. But the difference was internal. It was me looking in the mirror and seeing another person, a person who had said no, who had set boundaries, who had chosen her own dignity. On Thursday, 2 days after the scene at the bank, my phone rang 47 times, all from Ryan. I counted. Didn't answer any. He sent text messages, dozens of them. "Mom, please answer. Mom, I need to talk to you. I know I messed up. Let me fix it. Mom, don't ignore me like this." And lastly, at 11 at night, "I love you, always loved you, just didn't know how to show it. Forgive me." I left all on red, because forgiveness isn't about pretty words written in a hurry. Forgiveness is about real change, and change doesn't happen in 2 days. On Friday, I started organizing my trip. Mr. Henderson had connected me with an agency specializing in travel for seniors. The assistant, Carla, was incredible. Put together an itinerary of 6 months through Europe: Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Lisbon, Amsterdam, Prague. "Mrs. Nancy, you are going to love it. Going to see places you only saw in movies. Going to eat real food. Going to live." Live? What a strange word at 67 years old. As if I had spent all these decades merely surviving. And maybe I was. On Saturday, Ryan showed up at my door. It was 3 in the afternoon. I was organizing documents for the trip when I heard the doorbell. Looked through the peephole, and there he was. Alone this time, without Vanessa. Shirt wrinkled, deep circles under eyes, hair without gel, stubble on face. Looked like he had aged 10 years in a week. I didn't open the door, but spoke through it. "Ryan, I don't want visitors." "Mom, please, just 5 minutes." "No, I need peace. Go away." I heard a sob on the other side. "Mom, Vanessa left." That made me pause. What? She left, took her things and went to her parents' house. Said she married me thinking I was one thing and discovered I am another. That she doesn't want to stay with a man who treats his own mother that way. Supreme irony. The woman who had treated me like dirt for 3 years now used it as an excuse to abandon ship. "I am very sorry, Ryan, but that is not my problem." "I know." His voice rose, desperate. "I know it isn't. Just wanted you to know that I am alone now. I am alone and realizing how much I destroyed everything. The money is here, the 18 million, but I can't even look at the account without feeling angry at myself." I leaned my head against the door, closed my eyes, breathed deep. "Ryan, you needed to fall to learn how to get up. I can't do that for you." "But I need my mother." "No, son. You need to learn to be a decent man and that only you can do yourself. When you can, if you can, maybe we can talk, but not now. Now I need to live my life." Silence on the other side. Then footsteps moving away. Heard the noise of the car starting and leaving. I opened the door 10 minutes later. On the floor, an envelope. Inside, a check for $2 million in my name and a note. "Mom, I know money doesn't buy forgiveness, but I want you to know I recognize everything you did for me. This money is yours. always was, because everything I have was what you built. I love you. Even not deserving to be loved back. Ryan. I tore up the check. Not out of anger, but because I didn't need his money. I had mine. Conquered with 40 years of struggle and dignity. And more importantly, I had learned that there are things money doesn't buy, doesn't replace, doesn't fix. A week later, I boarded for Paris. First class. Champagne on the plane. Seat that turns into a bed. French movie with subtitles. And when the plane took off from O'Hare, I looked out the window, seeing the city get small down below, and felt something I hadn't felt for decades. Hope. Not hope that Ryan changed, not hope of a perfect family. Hope in myself, in my capacity to start over at 67 years old, to live without carrying anyone on my back. Because in the end, the greatest lesson I gave my son wasn't with words. It was showing that a woman doesn't need validation from anyone, neither from son, nor from daughter-in-law, nor from society to have value. I always had it, just needed to believe in it. Autumn in Paris had something magical. The golden leaves falling on the Champs-Élysées, the smell of fresh croissants in the bakeries, the sound of the accordion playing near the Eiffel Tower. I spent 6 months living, not surviving, living for real. I met a Brazilian woman in Rome, Teresa, 63 years old, widow too. We became inseparable friends, drank wine in bistros in Barcelona, rode gondolas in Venice, laughed at nonsense in Lisbon. For the first time, I had friends my age who understood my story because they had similar stories. "Nancy, you look different," Teresa told me in a cafe in Amsterdam. "You have that shine in your eyes of someone who found herself." And she was right. I had found myself. I returned to Chicago in October. The flight landed at 6 in the morning, and when I stepped into the international terminal, I felt the characteristic wind of the windy city welcome me. I was home. But it was a different home now, because I was different. I renovated my house with $350,000, replaced the roof, redid the bathroom, put in new floors, painted everything, bought new furniture. Nothing extravagant, but comfortable, beautiful, mine. The new refrigerator, huge, stainless steel, looked beautiful in the renovated kitchen. I created a foundation of $500,000 to help single mothers in the South Side. Called it the Arthur Foundation in honor of my husband. Every month, 5 women received help for daycare, school supplies, basic groceries. Mrs. Edna, my neighbor, became coordinator of the project. And I started giving sewing classes for young people in the community, for free, because I knew what it was not to have options, not to have a way out, not to have hope. Ryan tried contact 52 times during my trip. Messages, calls, emails. I replied only once, after 3 months. I am fine, living my life. When I return, we talk. Maybe. 2 days after I returned, he appeared again at my door. It was Sunday afternoon. Rang the bell, and when I opened, I almost didn't recognize him. He had lost about 30 pounds. Short beard, well-groomed, simple clothes, jeans and polo shirt, eyes clear but tired, and in his hands, nothing. No expensive gifts, no exaggerated flowers, just him. "Hi, Mom." "Hi, Ryan." We stood there in the doorway, sizing each other up. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, but nodded. He entered and stopped in the middle of the living room, looking at everything. The renovated house, the new furniture, the photos of my trip on the wall. "The house is beautiful, Mom." "Thanks." Uncomfortable silence. I wasn't going to make it easy, not this time. He started, voice failing. "I spent these 6 months doing therapy, twice a week. The therapist made me see a lot of things, about me, about how I treated you, about everything." I didn't answer, just listened. Vanessa didn't come back, asked for a divorce, took half of the $18 million according to the prenuptial agreement, $9 million for each. And you know something? I didn't even care, because I realized she never loved me. She loved the idea of what I could give her. Ryan, I don't need to know about your marital life. I know, but I need to tell you. Need you to understand that I woke up. Late, very late, but I woke up. He breathed deep. I didn't come to ask for forgiveness, because I know I don't deserve it. I came to ask for an opportunity to build a relationship again, from zero, as adults, with respect. I looked at him, really looked, and I saw something different. It wasn't that arrogant man anymore, blinded by money. It was someone broken, trying to rebuild himself. Ryan, I don't know if I can trust you again. I know, and I don't expect you to trust now. Just hope you let me try to prove, with time, with actions, that I changed. I sat on the new sofa. He stood waiting for permission to sit. I didn't give it. Not yet. If I accept this, and it is a very big if, it will be with conditions. First, therapy continues, not negotiable. Second, you treat me with respect always, whether I have money or not. Third, I am not an emotional crutch. You solve your problems, I solve mine. Fourth, boundaries. I have my life now, trips, projects, friends, and you are going to respect that. I accept everything. And fifth, I paused. Forgiveness is not forgetting. I am going to forgive because it is better for me, not for you. But I am never going to forget what you made me feel, and you are going to have to live with that. He felt his eyes water. I understand and accept, because I am also not going to forget. I am going to carry this as a reminder of the man I never want to be again. I was silent for a long moment, then pointed to the chair. Sit. I'm going to make coffee, and you are going to tell me correctly how this therapy went. I saw relief take over his face. It wasn't complete forgiveness. It wasn't everything is fine. It was a beginning, small, fragile, but honest. While I prepared coffee in the kitchen, I looked at Arthur's watch, which was now on a special stand I had made. He is not going to be the perfect son I dreamed of, I whispered to the watch. But maybe, with time, he will be a decent son. And maybe that is enough. Because, in the end, the greatest lesson I learned in these 6 months was not about revenge or justice. It was about myself, about knowing that I deserve respect, that I have value, that I do not need to annul myself to be loved. And if Ryan learned something, it was that. Money did not reveal who he was. It only showed who he chose to be. And now, without the masks, without the excuses, he had the opportunity to choose again. This time, I hoped he chose better. Disclaimer. While this story is a work of fiction, the pain of parental sacrifice and the complexity of family betrayal are very real. It serves as a reminder that dignity is not negotiable, and that sometimes love means setting boundaries. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to reclaim their worth, because everyone deserves to be loved for who they are, not what they have.